Welcome back. My name is Dr. Marc Liechtung, and welcome back to another episode of we're going to definitely explore today's Dentistry Beyond the Numbers. This is the podcast that pulled back the curtain on not only dentistry, but the business, the learning ability, and the growth ability in our practices. And that's really what we believe. Before we begin, Dentistry Beyond the Numbers happens to be up for Podcast of the Year award or something like that. So if you see it, or like it wherever you see it, it just gives us the ability to have great guests like we have today. And I'm going to segue into that because this is one of those guests that they say David Rice is available on, and you say, okay, we'll make that. And when you get a David Rice who's just a name and I'm as we established, I'm in this field for a while, but who I've heard for many years as somebody of a advanced educator. David is the editor-in-chief of DentistryIQ, the founder of IgniteDDS, and he is here. He's also a clinician, educator, mentor. I could tell you he has a passion for guiding the next generation of dental professionals. And I got to tell you, if you're an early career dentist, whether you're still in school or just out of residency, only a few years in practice, this episode's for you. I could tell you in the pre-talk, this episode's for you. We are talking about lessons nobody teaches you and leadership along the way. How to choose the right path, not just the right practice, but today's world, there are so many paths. There's the DSO, the DPO, the private practice, the older dentist that you think you could take from $200,000 to $2 million. And then there's guys like Dr. David Rice that can put you on the path of really an ambitious, lucrative, and fulfilling career. I could read this for hours, but I really want to introduce you, David. So without further ado, David Rice, doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you being here and chatting for a few minutes. There's a wealth of knowledge between the two of us, and it's definitely slanted to that side. I'm looking forward to this. I want to know what a guy like you who's now showing, DentistryIQ, Ignite, and everybody, all these different great podcasts and interviews. What'd you do when you first came out? Give us your path. Where'd you go to school? What'd you do? Just to get a little bit of a background of David Rice.
Sure. So I graduated from Buffalo's dental school in 94. I did a general practice residency after that. I went from Buffalo to Pittsburgh. I went down 90. It was a really giant expedition.
Big close.
Yeah. Did a residency. It was a great experience. I loved it. I highly recommend post-grad programs if you can afford it coming out of school. You'll learn a ton. And then from there, I was an associate for about a year and a half. Bought my first practice. A couple of years later, bought my second, bought my third, did a startup a few years after that. And then part of an 8-year plan, 7 months pre-COVID, sold it all, picked up and moved from New York. I live in Tampa, Florida, and IgniteDDS and all the things we do, coaching, young docs and some seasoned pros who are, trying to get to that next season of life and enjoyment. So we work with a lot of dental pros all over the country. It's a blast. We work with a lot of dental students, which is really a give back and part of our mission and something I enjoy. I was just at University of Florida last night. They're awesome. I mean, this next generation is firing on all cylinders and
very passionate young people. I have a son who's a fourth-year dental student in Turo, but I do want to shout out, and he's so passionate, and he's following in the footsteps, and I got to do a shout out for Buffalo. I've hired a lot of docs in my time. One of the best docs I've ever hired. He's been with me for 12 or 13 years. He's one of the reasons I believe in the dental hamsa of a general dentist doing the right things and doing great work, but always coming to work knowing you're going to be productive, it's going to be rewarding. And he's from Buffalo, and it changed my mind, the clinical dentistry from Buffalo. And it helped because I hired a couple of people from Buffalo. The clinical aspect is excellent. Kudos to you for going to residency and everything else you do. But before we get into anything, what was the maturation of Ignite? What were you thinking, your problem you're going to solve? And pretty kudos to you for seeing that problem and trying to solve it so quickly. So I'm curious to know what it was.
Yeah, I didn't have anyone in dentistry in my family. So I had some strong mentors, educationally that I think I'm going to say lucky to have. So what I saw in dentistry, there was there weren't solid pathways and processes you could follow to kind of guarantee you got into the right circles. And my goal with Ignite was create a community where we could put you in the right circle of professionals and get you out of the gate fast. Because you mentioned pathways, and I'm a trajectory guy. And, meaning if we're on the right trajectory, we grow quickly. If we're on the wrong one, we're further away from where we want to be in a year or two. So
GPS is broken. We're in trouble.
So that was kind of the origin story, and a little more to it on the personal side, but that was really the problem we were trying to solve, is give young people solid circles so they could be on the right trajectory.
What a great time. What a really unbelievable time. And I'm going to shout out because I'm a guy who sold a couple of groups. I'm a 5-day-a-week group guy. I get 5 practices. I look for the out, but a couple of them stayed with me. But, good doctors come in and they always have this plan in their head. They always think these things. If they just embrace the concept, get better. First 5 years, find a path to get better. You're not going to produce and collect every single thing and make all your money between the ages of 27 and 30, 31. But between the ages of 35 and 55, you can make yourself a career that's going to be second to none. Now, I want to understand, what do you see the 3 struggles of a new dentist coming in? A couple of the pull, the push. How strong is residency from what you see? Just an idea of that.
Sure. So one of the greatest struggles of young dentists today is their debt is absolutely a factor for them. And, you go to a couple schools in New York, you go to a couple of schools in California, you go to a few schools in Florida, and you're going to walk out 600-700 plus. You're pushing on $1 million and you don't actually own a darn thing yet. That's a massive problem that we have to address. They're walking into a world where, depending on your practice model, if you play in that PPO world, they're getting reimbursed less money than, guys like you and I who did that model. So they're going to make less money per procedure. They owe a lot more money. And I think the other problem in dentistry today, this is, I think, a truth that maybe people don't want to hear, is social media is a massive problem. They're seeing snapshots, which are largely untrue. They're getting advice from people who are largely unskilled and don't have a knowledge base. Maybe they had a unicorn opportunity. Maybe they just created it in their head. And we got a lot of young people listening to the wrong folks.
Well, really amazing. I really didn't expect that. That's really well said, and definitely should be listened. I think that's very true. And somebody who invented a product, Snap-on Smile, took it to market, had it made by skilled technicians, and then had it injection molded. To see all these knockoffs that suck down, and it bothers the heck out of me. But, that's what you got to deal with. And I think the one thing I will say about dentistry, and is that back in the day, and I say this a lot, but back in the day, it wasn't cool to be a dentist. But it wasn't. You'd go somewhere, you'd say you're a dentist, they'd go to oh, you sell stocks? Like, who gives a crap what you sell, but you're not in teeth? And I just feel like, dentistry as a whole, ADA, cosmetics, the cosmetic societies, I think we've done a really good job in making it very chic, or as chic as playing in the mouth can be, but it's very chic, it's very artistic, it's surgical. I mean, what do you think disconnect between clinical confidence and business confidence is? Like, you have somebody that's clinically, he sees it, she sees it. But why do some of us gravitate to lining our practices up with percentages and goals from previous thousands and thousands of practice, and others just say, good month? I mean, do you see that disconnect?
I do. I see that disconnect a lot. And gosh, you literally flashed me back to a lunch I had with one of the deans from Buffalo. It's got to be 15, 16 years ago now. And what his answer, I think, is probably the correct answer. And it was his, not mine. And that is, we're attracting a certain type of person to dental school. They're comfortable with the clinical by and large. So they might not be very business savvy. That might not be on their radar. I feel like we're getting more business savvy people coming into dental school.
I agree with that.
But I think we attract a certain human into our profession, and maybe that's where it all begins.
I will say this on a personal level. About 30 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, yeah, I got a letter. My late father sent me a little bit of a blib that was in the Wall Street Journal. My father was in real estate, and it was an article about a dentist who's buying up a lot of land in the San Francisco Valley. And it said in the article of Wall Street, and I had it framed on my wall. Unfortunately, that office had an arson take to it. But the article said that as they see it, the Wall Street Journal saying dentists are far more better trained and skilled at business than doctors. And they use this gentleman. I do see the younger dentists coming out, watching their numbers, knowing their production, seeing how to collect, knowing different things and different values. And I do value that to some of the groups. I mean, you hear these groups are, just moving the needle on so many different things. And that's where I think, and we'll get into this, but where the groups do help. And, where leadership, I think that's probably the aspect that they don't help, is that they take away the business end. But do you see the disconnect between people that you meet that come to get mentored and say, I don't want to handle the business, or they want to get better at the business? That's what I'm trying to decipher. Do you see people just putting their head in the ground in the sand and just saying, let me do my dentistry?
Yeah, we see all of the above. There are people who come in and they really want to be an entrepreneur, and their business is, oral health and wellness. And we see people who want nothing at all to do with any of that. They want to be an excellent clinician, and they're hoping someone else carries that load for them.
Do you see those are the people that succeed, or not necessarily? Meaning, just because you're business minded, does that mean you're going to be successful? I mean,
yeah, it's a great question. I think if you're entrepreneurially spirited and you're willing to listen and learn from history and people who kind of walk before you, there's not much that can stop you. But if you come in and you think you have all the answers, you might get in your own way, or you might slow down your success if you feel like, I'm going to figure this whole thing out on my own.
Yeah, it must be difficult. I mean, I don't see that because I'm a hiring, portion of the program. You're a guiding portion. Now, I'm just curious just to know what you do. I mean, do you guide them and then present them to different practices, or you're just, so you help them place? So if I need a doctor in either Freehold, New Jersey, or Fort Lauderdale, Florida, or even wherever I need a doctor, which I need doctors. But I mean, that's something I did not realize. So Dave, you guide them into positions that work best for them.
Yeah, we really start honestly and get to know them and figure out. So I'm a big fan. I rewind things in life to say, tell me about success at home. What does that look like for you? And Ignite, we call that a self-determined future. So I want to know what every young person home life should look like. Are they travelers? Are they a family? No family? What exactly do they consider success at home? And then from there, we look for models that best fit. And I try to come in very objectively and not judgmentally and say, like, this is your life. There are recipes, right? If you want to be an associate forever, if you want to be an associate to an ownership in a traditional practice, associate to owner in maybe an emerging group, if you want to be an associate to shareholder in larger group, like all those have different recipes. So I feel like our job in the beginning is just really listen to people and understand what their version of success is, and then try to guide them and connect them to people who do it well. And then, a lot of times 2-3 years later, we're back in that guiding process again because they got, some reps in and whatever practice they were in, and now they're ready for something different.
Let's say I came to you as a young entrepreneurial dentist, and she says, Dr. Rice, I want to grow a group. I don't know how to get money, and I don't know where to begin. But I'm trained, and I'm excellent, and I went to Penn, and I did a residency in the top, and I blah, blah, blah. Would you find her the resources to go and start that? I mean, can this ignite a career of somebody? And I mean that,
yeah,
because think about that. I was a young dentist who practiced in Manhattan, and I loved the aspect of having other practices, so I started buying a couple. Banks were the only way to get money, and if, we had some issues or Is this like a program that you're taking people straight through?
It's not a formal program, I would say. When we coach, right now we've got 70, 80 practices that we coach in some way, shape, or form. Some of those are groups of pretty good size, and some of them are one doc, one location. Right. So typically, if you came to me as a young doc and you're like, hey, I want to build this group, my first piece of advice to you is, great, let's go build one location and get ideal people, ideal process, ideal production. We need to systematize everything in one place. And then if you're patient and you do that for 12 months, then you can scale. I think the biggest mistake I see people making is when they want to sprint right out of the gate when they don't have all those systems in place. And, let's
being part of groups. When I was the acquisition maven, or, part of the two of us that went around buying a lot of practices for Guardian. It is absolutely the greatest job to walk in. I don't know if you remember the show, The Millionaire. Do you remember when he would come and visit you, like in Huckbuck, Arkansas, the backwoods, and he'd say, Mrs. Jones, my name is Jim Smith, and I come with a gift. And he writes you a check for $1 million and leaves. It's unbelievable. You come into a dentist office knowing that you could pay them a certain amount of EBITDA, and they are amazed. I do think the problem with groups and single owners like ourselves is that becomes very sexy.
Yeah.
But the post-close and the post-acquisition, those are the things that I look at. And I'm a believer that doctors have the ability to be the sole reason why practice goes from 1 million to 1.6 million, from 4,500 to 1.5 million. The ability for us to communicate, articulate, and then facilitate these dental procedures and do them in an amazing way. There's no skimping. I mean, social media can do all they want, but they can also destroy a doctor. So, I mean, I want to know, when these doctors are coming out, there's so many different avenues. How do you determine personality-wise? Is there somebody evaluating these people, or do you just say, what do you want?
Yeah, first I ask, what do you want? And then I start asking more probing questions about, what are you comfortable with? Because something, to your point, that looks sexy on social media might be a great for dentist A. It might be a horrible loss for dentist B. So we start asking, risk. What's your risk tolerance? Are you going to go out and roll the dice, or are you somebody who feels comfortable with guaranteed income? How fast do you want to get there? What's the pace you want to achieve? And it becomes pretty apparent really quickly that most young people today, and this is not a knock because I remember being that young person, like, they don't really know what they want yet. It's too soon. So they go out for maybe 2-3 years, they go to work, they get some experience, and they either have a great experience and say, more of this, or they have a negative experience and say, not this, let me move to a different.
So what do you do? Do you keep in touch with them and say, how'd you feel? What do you think? Or is it more like, call me if you need me? I mean, I would say I would use you as somebody coming out. I mean, you'd be a source of information, because I want to rule the world. I want to cure everybody. I want to have 10 practices in my own hometown and then grow them, because everybody's talking about groups. Maybe somebody needs to tell them that it isn't just, hugging moms and kissing babies. It is grunt. It is grunt. It is just having an office that's out of a rest-in and running there, or having somebody run there. It's the little things. So I really think it's important to have somebody to tell them what it is. I've been doing this for a long time. And while I do podcasts and speak and meet people, I'm also running a business. And I value that, because I see doctors and how they handle stress. Can they handle a practice? Can they be a partner? Are they going to be a partner, or are they just going to blow up the whole place? If you were 27, if you were coming out of dental school today, would you go straight into the business world? Would you go straight into what would you do today?
I'd build an emerging group. It'd probably be 10 locations. It would be in a pretty tight region. I would definitely be doing demographic studies. There's some people in dentistry who do that pretty well. There's a lot of money people outside of dentistry who do that extraordinarily well. So I would want to forecast where growth was going to be 3 to 5 years from now. And
what's a great growth? What, really?
Yeah.
Keep going. Everyone should jot this down. We have this on tape. Everyone, this is value added. Use these demographic studies. Great.
Yeah, it's so important. And listen, money people, they have bigger data than most people in dentistry have. And so in the beginning, I want to top a funnel. I want to learn from a lot of people and get a lot of thoughts. And then from there, I want to build my team and I want to laser focus and tune everyone else out.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. It's a funny thing. Take somebody I was talking about or just a doctor. He's so fixed on clinical and getting great at clinical that I think he didn't want and made so much money because he produces a tremendous amount every year. I don't think he had the motivation to get into the business end of it because he didn't have to. But some people come out with that spirit. I mean, what metric do you think either an associate or a barn burner or an entrepreneur, but we come back, we're young. What do you look for the first couple of years, production-wise? Is it easy? Even you say growth. Should we grow in different, in different dynamics, different dimensions, different pathways? What do you think is the most important way to grow 3, 5, 10 years out?
Yeah, I think one of the most underrated growth areas in dentistry is you have to work on your leadership ability. Even as an associate, let's be honest, like the team's going to follow you, whether you're bringing them to an amazing place or you're bringing them to a terrible place. So learning how to be a leader is really critical if you want to just be an outstanding associate and have a team of people help you be a very productive associate and very happy and doing all the dentistry you want to do. Or if you want to own 1, 2, 3, 10, 50, 100 locations at some point, leadership evolves. You might be a leader of a frontline team versus a leader of leaders, depending on how much you want to scale and but that's a big one for me. I think foundationally as a clinician, it's going to seem really boring to you, young dentist, if you're listening, but be a tremendous diagnostician that serves you, whether you want to place implants, do endo, do clear aligners, all of the above, plus, crown and bridge, aesthetically driven stuff. Like your ability to diagnose and see a patient's future is monumental. Then your ability to get the patients to say yes and have a team of people who can work with you effectively with your time, because most of us waste a lot of time in a day. All those areas are things to work on and, pick 1 or 2 and dive deep.
And that's a great lesson. I really believe communication is so important because I even saw a case recently where an older doc saw a set of x-rays and the x-rays were, didn't look like anything was failing. But when you look at the intraoral pictures, which he failed to do, all the composites were broken. The teeth were worn down and he needed to crown those teeth. I think communication from saying to the patient that we're going to save those teeth is and how, why, raise the vertical, linear, the lines around your mouth are getting deeper, the wrinkles are getting more. These are the things we should learn to talk about. I'm coming out, what's my, I'm ready to start. I mean, what actions, what actions should I take day one? I mean, is it, should I call somebody like you? Should I call somebody, listen to all the podcasts I can listen to? But before we start our famous lightning round of questions, I just wanted to know what you think they should do, early in the career.
Ooh,
is it just continuing education? Is it accelerating growth in your mind?
I think clinical education is key. I think your ability, if life is circles, your ability to network and get in the best circles is key. So, get out, be present in your community. I'm going to say your community is dental community. It's also community at large. It's also financial community. Just, your expectations are going to be based on what life has thrown your way so far. So if you want to have a different view on life, you have to be around people who maybe had some different expectations than you. So I think learning that early on and being around people who maybe see a bigger world than you've seen before, you might decide you want it, you might decide not, but it's good to be armed with information.
100%. Networking is
everything.
Networking is everything. And I really believe that us as dentists, I always said this when I ran around lecturing about Snap-on, was that I worked my whole life in a 4-inch by 4-inch. In some cases, I get lucky. It's 5.5-inch by 5.5-inch mouth. But, I'm digging in a hole, and you get out there and you realize these networking events or meeting people. I mean, Dr. Rice touched on financial. What do I need? Well, if you could get annuity money early on in your career and you have money coming in as a young clinician and plus your practice, life looks a little better. Maybe planned from somebody who went through it. I think learning about that, learning about what moves my practices, how I can increase my procedures and my procedure of the practice, whether it be adding hygienists, or adding associates. And the associates is what makes us money. We're on a golf course or we're on vacations or at courses getting better. But I believe today's day and age, the Main Street dentist is competing with doctors right now. And their practices have to be clean, good staff, the team. But, that's what I'm seeing. DSOs will entice you with this, but the private practice has to be enticing as well. And we have to, if you're in private practice, you can't just say to a doctor, you want to work for me? You have to show them technology. You have to show them the path if they want to grow clear aligners. Give them that path to grow clear aligners. I mean, don't you believe that in order for us to have retention, we're going to have to let these young entrepreneurial, because I find they're a little more excited about learning new procedures, right? Advancing, doing more things that enhance the practice. Don't you think as practice owners, we have to open our eyes and let them do what they want to do at some point?
Yeah, I like to break it down into 3 things: skill, will, circumstances. And first thing we need to do as owner docs is create the circumstances where a young person can come in and thrive. If we don't have those circumstances, they're not going to stay very long. And then we're going to default to they're lazy, they're entitled, they don't want to be here, but maybe we never really set them up for success. The second thing is skill. We've got to develop them clinically. So we have to have systems in our practice that help them get from where they are to where we know we need them to be. Some of those things I think we need to get to quickly so they don't hurt our patients because they're not getting the clinical education that people did 20 years ago. And then the last piece is just will. So if we have great circumstances, if we develop them as young docs, then it's all about that person's desire and fit in your practice. And when that works, it works. And when it doesn't, they move on.
I love that word. And what you said, David, was fit. I call procedural matching, where a doctor who is doing clear aligners all day and loves doing sleep, don't bring an associate in that's going to do clear aligners and then say, why aren't they producing? Bring somebody in who's going to do cosmetics, maybe your root canals, maybe he does place implants or takes teeth out. You need to add for exit, which we're not talking about today because there's so much I could talk to you about, because exit strategy, getting your practice ready for a great exit, is just a whole new science today, and getting people EBITDA-driven practices. And, something I really believe listening to you is you have an understanding about the great exits, the work-life balance, which is so important. And I think everyone should be really take a hold and listen to a little bit of Ignite. And what's the name of your podcast, please?
So it's called Dentistry Unmasked. I'm actually going to be bowing out of that podcast as of the turn of the year.
Wait, this is a flash on the dental news. Let's hear it.
It's a flash on the dental news.
Love it.
As of December 31, very fortunately, Ignite has exploded and requires more time from me, and as my wife deserves more time from me. So I'm unplugging from a lot of the DentistryIQ things and the podcast side and really focusing all on all things Ignite. So you'll see a lot of video production out there, short, 1 to 4 minute educational segments. They'll all come from Ignite. They'll be all the places you'd imagine they'll be.
That's awesome. I wish you so much luck.
Thank you.
You've done so much already, and I think it's just the beginning, I'm sure. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Right now, we're going to start a little bit of a lightning round. This is the first time I really had a chance to talk to you, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of warmth and a lot of knowledge. And I think that's very easily attained when you have somebody who wants to teach. So thank you so much from all the dentists that need people who are willing to teach. A lot part of my day, I get x-rays from all over asking me, Doc, about a few years, 3, 4, 5 years ago, I decided to start, I've always done this with docs, and they've improved. But I've also started to give them the verbiage, because I break down treatment plans into 4 things. Tell them what they need. But the number 2 is tell them what happens if you don't do it. And we as clinicians need to be truthful, but imaginative. We don't want to say this thing is going to crawl up and eat you, but we definitely want to say it could be infected when you're on your vacation. So we need to learn number 2. Number 3 is tell them how easy it is. Same injection I did the filling. Going to give you the same one. And then go get your treatment planner or coordinator and let them talk numbers. And I just believe that, today's day, guidance with young dentists go a long way. And that's, for me personally, I think people like yourself, it's tremendous. And ready to start our lightning round right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
4 questions.
Okay.
We're going to give, it's 2 minutes we got for this, so it's about 30 seconds each. Number 1, one thing new dentists should stop doing immediately.
Stop doing immediately. Stop measuring yourself up against everybody else around you, half of what you see is fake and the other half probably isn't for you. So define your own version of success and focus on that.
Too many times I can say so much that is so valuable. A young associate comes in and is comparing to a guy who's in the office a while and doesn't realize the greatness to come. They just put so much pressure on themselves. I love that. One skill that will make a dentist more valuable in any practice he or she goes into.
On a most basic level, be a leader and a team player. Be somebody that's curious and approachable as opposed to the problem in the locker room.
I got to tell you, leadership skills going forward for DSOs and consolidation is going to be, even if there's not as much money in it today, interest rates come down 1.5 points, we'll be flooded, we'll be good. I think this is a great profession. But what you pound in about leadership, it's so true. I mean, leadership is what we look for in Guardian to be P2P, partner to partner, because nobody wants just a producer. We want to know somebody can also handle an issue or grow a practice by leading. So I think that's so important. Most underrated opportunity for early career dentists today.
Most underrated opportunity. Oh man, I'd go rural. If you want to slam your debt out, go rural. You'll probably make 2 to 3x. If you go any other area, you'll get a ton of experience because it's all going to fall on you. And
you'll hear the cows. You'll hear the cows. Me as a New York City boy, cows scare me. I like roaches and rats. We get along with that. The one book, mentor, or idea that changed your career. Wow. Gotta give kudos.
Yeah, man, there's too many to pick one, but if
you're so lucky.
I know there's just too many to pick one. I will tell you, I'll give you a mentor, a guy I met early on, not a dentist. And he showed me how to treat people as a leader, how to customize that treatment based on who that person is, what they needed in their world. And what he built was a team of people that would have gone to the ends of the earth for him. So I don't know, there's 50 reads out there that you should probably get. There's a bunch of podcasts, but find people who are highly successful in the exact vertical you want to be in and be a sponge.
There you go. Dr. David Rice, thank you so much. That was awesome. Really, I want to say that was awesome. And just speaking to you for a little bit, I'm going to be motivated to really listen to Ignite and see your future, and to get some of my associates to start listening to you more often. A lot of them know of you, and this has been great. I must say that the key to this and the crux of it, being a leader, is so important, because today's world is you have an opportunity to really, as we're hearing today, to be such a great leader and also provide a great living for your family by going in any direction you want to go in. I mean, you do really have great choices of being a dentist today. And, so seek out knowledgeable people that mentor you through this process. Dr. David Rice is probably right up there in the top of this. So get mentored, get educated, and make a lot of money and be happy. More than anything, be happy. Thank you, Dr. David Rice. I appreciate your time and effort and everything you do. I look forward to seeing you in the future and learning more from you.
Right back at you.
All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, David has been an incredibly valuable asset guest, especially for you early career dentists who are coming out of residency, maybe a couple of years in. But to everyone, I hope you heard the theme woven through this program. And that's all about leadership. It's all about growing as a clinician, as a provider, and as a leader. You need to evaluate as a leader what your team needs and talk to them, communicate with them. Communicate with them as far as them knowing what to expect from you and what you want, how you want things. It'll be smoother. And I got to tell you, people like David Rice and Dr. David Rice, I should say, with IgniteDDS and his whole community of mentorship and guidance, that's what I see dentistry is going to need and really explode into. And I could see it being incorporated in institutions around the country. Because when people get out, they should know what their path is. But really, having guests like this is amazing because these are the people that are, these are the people that are shaping the future, the now of dentistry, and looking down the road, distinguishing between leaders and associates and making that distinction, because if the world does consolidate, they're going to be leaders and they're going to be leading the clinicians of this country. And that is something I think people should be thinking about. But if you had any value to this Dentistry Beyond the Numbers with Dr. David Rice, thank you. Vote for us. If it comes across and you see that we're Podcast of the Year, I believe we've had some of the best guests. I'll rank them against anybody, the people that built this industry and the people that are shaping your future. Remember, I'm all around the dental hamsa, what makes us better, more productive, and just loving dentistry and late into our lives. So I thank you very much. I thank Dr. David Rice very much for participating. Catch us everywhere. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon on Dentistry Beyond the Numbers. Thank you so much.